Turning 40 is often painted as a graceful milestone for women, but behind the polite smiles lies a storm no one dares to talk about. Suddenly, the same woman who once held everything together, family, career, beauty, and charm, starts to feel like her world is slipping through her fingers. Hormones shift, the mirror reflects changes she cannot control, and society whispers that her best years are behind her. To outsiders, she may look crazy. In reality, she is facing one of the most ruthless transitions of her life, where biology, psychology, and social pressure collide. Number 1. Biological and psychological causes. When people say that women over 40 go crazy, one of the most overlooked factors is biology itself. The body does not lie, and around this age, a woman enters a stage where her physiology begins to shift in ways she cannot fully control. These changes are not superficial. They penetrate her emotions, her energy, and even her identity. The most powerful driver here is the fluctuation of hormones. During the years leading up to menopause, known as perimenopause, estrogen and progesterone levels swing unpredictably. These hormones regulate not only the reproductive system, but also mood, sleep, and even cognitive clarity. A sudden drop in estrogen can trigger anxiety, depression, or irritability in ways that feel irrational, even to the woman experiencing them. One day she may feel calm and collected, the next day overwhelmed by anger or sadness without any clear reason. Outsiders often dismiss this as overreacting or being crazy. But in reality, her brain chemistry is being rewired against her will. Sleep disturbances become another hidden enemy. As hormonal balance breaks down, many women struggle with insomnia or restless nights. Lack of proper rest amplifies emotional instability, frustration, forgetfulness, and a heightened sensitivity to stress. A woman who once handled pressure with grace may suddenly find herself snapping at small irritations. This is not weakness, it is biology, magnifying the weight of ordinary problems until they feel unbearable. The body itself also begins sending constant reminders of time passing. Metabolism slows, weight gain becomes easier, and physical vitality feels harder to maintain. Many women notice their sexual desire diminishing, while at the same time, they fear losing attractiveness in the eyes of their partners or society. This dual blow, less inner drive, combined with greater anxiety about outer appearance, creates a sense of internal contradiction. She wants to feel alive, yet her body seems to betray her. This inner conflict often bursts out as mood swings, impulsive decisions, or desperate attempts to reclaim control. Psychology then magnifies what biology has already started. The awareness of aging does not come gently. It strikes like a mirror that suddenly refuses to flatter. Wrinkles, gray hairs, and subtle changes in skin or posture remind her daily that youth has slipped away. For a woman who once derived confidence from her beauty or energy, this realization can cut deeply into her sense of self-worth. Even highly accomplished women feel the sting of invisibility when they no longer fit society's narrow definition of desirable. This is where anxiety and fear turn into restlessness. Women in their 40s often begin questioning past choices. Did I waste my youth? Did I marry the right person? Did I miss opportunities to live freely? These questions are not purely nostalgic. They are psychological alarms triggered by the confrontation with mortality and the decline of fertility. A woman may feel as though the doors of possibility are closing, and panic emerges from the thought that time has run out. What outsiders call craziness is, in truth, the collision between a woman's inner biology and her evolving psychology. It is the storm produced when hormones pull her emotions in unpredictable directions, while her mind wrestles with the fear of aging and loss. The result is not insanity, but an understandable response to profound change. To reduce this to mere irrationality is to ignore the depth of her struggle. Women over 40 are not losing their minds. They are fighting battles inside their bodies and souls that few can see. Number 2, social and family causes. If biology sets the stage for emotional upheaval, society and family pressures provide the fuel that keeps the fire burning. For many women over 40, the external world feels like a relentless judge, constantly reminding them of expectations, obligations, and roles that no longer fit comfortably. What looks like madness from the outside is often the weight of invisible responsibilities crushing them from within. One of the heaviest burdens is the family itself. By this age, children are no longer innocent toddlers. They are teenagers, or young adults stepping into their own chaotic phases. Teenagers test boundaries, rebel, and demand emotional energy at the very moment when their mother's patience and vitality are already strained by hormonal shifts. At the same time, elderly parents begin to require care, reversing the roles of dependency. The woman becomes the emotional anchor for 2 generations, raising her children while also worrying about her aging parents. This dual caregiving role leaves little room for her own needs, making her feel invisible even inside her own home. Marriage, too, changes its texture after decades. The initial spark between partners often fades into routine, obligation, or even emotional distance. Some husbands, equally caught in midlife crises, withdraw or seek validation elsewhere. For the woman, this feels like a betrayal, layered on top of everything else. The partner, who was supposed to be her ally, sometimes becomes another source of disappointment, or worse, another child to take care of. Loneliness within marriage can be more painful than loneliness outside of it, because it highlights the absence of intimacy in a place where it is most expected. The social landscape is equally unforgiving. In the workplace, women over 40 often discover they are no longer seen as rising stars, but as past their prime. Younger colleagues are celebrated for their energy and innovation, while older women are subtly sidelined, sometimes even replaced. No matter how competent or experienced, they face an unspoken bias that their value is declining. This loss of professional relevance mirrors the loss of societal admiration for their beauty, leaving them caught in a double bind. Less visible at work, less visible in the social world, yet burdened with greater responsibilities at home. Adding to this is the cultural script that women must remain endlessly nurturing, composed, and self-sacrificing. When a woman tries to assert herself, pursue her own desires, or simply demand rest, she risks being labeled selfish or unstable. The pressure to conform to these impossible standards generates inner rebellion. Sometimes this rebellion appears in small outbursts, snapping at a spouse, refusing obligations, or taking sudden risks. Outsiders see this as irrational, but in truth, it is the natural backlash against years of being silenced and overburdened. There is also the haunting sense of being trapped. By 40, many life choices are cemented: marriage, career, parenting style, lifestyle. If a woman feels dissatisfied, the idea of starting over can feel terrifying, yet irresistible. Some seek affairs, others quit long-held jobs, others reinvent themselves entirely. These drastic moves are not always signs of recklessness, but desperate attempts to escape suffocation. The so-called crazy woman over 40 is often just someone trying to breathe in a cage built by family expectations and social rules. The intersection of family demands and societal neglect creates a unique storm. On one hand, she is overburdened with responsibilities. On the other, she is undervalued and dismissed. She is expected to give endlessly, yet rarely receives recognition. She is told to age gracefully, yet punished when she shows the natural signs of aging. This paradox drives the feeling of being pushed to the edge. What many call irrational behavior is actually the visible crack in a system designed to overwork and underappreciate women. The tension between the roles they are forced to play and the desires they secretly hold is unbearable. Family and society may never admit their part in creating this pressure, but it is precisely these external forces that intensify the inner chaos. Number 3. Impacts on behavior and emotions. Once the biological storms and social pressures collide, the effects inevitably spill into behavior and emotions. This is the moment when women over 40 are most misunderstood. Outsiders only see the outbursts, the sudden changes, the contradictions, but they rarely see the causes beneath. What they label as crazy is, in fact, the visible expression of inner battles too heavy to carry in silence. The most common effect is mood instability. A woman who was once calm and collected may now swing rapidly between irritation and melancholy. Small annoyances, a misplaced word, a forgotten task, a careless comment can ignite disproportionate anger. To the family, it seems like she is overreacting, but to her, it feels like the final straw after years of silent pressure. In other moments, sadness emerges without clear triggers. She may cry suddenly, withdraw into herself, or feel waves of despair that no one else understands. These fluctuations are not signs of weakness, but the natural result of hormonal turbulence and accumulated emotional fatigue. Another striking consequence is impulsive behavior. Many women at this stage make choices that surprise or even shock those around them. Some radically change their appearance, adopting fashion or hairstyles that signal rebellion against expectations. Others make abrupt decisions in relationships, ending long marriages, starting risky affairs, or demanding freedoms they once suppressed. Still others throw themselves into new hobbies, careers, or adventures with the intensity of someone racing against time. While society may call this irrational, it is often a desperate attempt to regain agency over a life that has felt dictated by others. This phase can also trigger what might be called the hunger for rebirth. Women over 40 often feel that if youth has ended, they must create a new version of themselves to survive. This explains why some pursue spiritual practices, travel extensively, or reinvent themselves in business or art. It is not madness, but transformation, an urgent search for vitality before the window of opportunity feels permanently closed. The risk, however, is that this pursuit can slide into extremes. Overspending, reckless decisions, or obsessive attachments, all born from the desire to feel alive again. Relationships bear the brunt of these emotional and behavioral changes. Family members, especially husbands and children, may find themselves confused or hurt. They see rejection where the woman seeks space, or hostility where she only seeks recognition. Miscommunication deepens the sense of isolation, as her loved ones interpret her actions as selfishness rather than survival. This breakdown often fuels the stereotype of the crazy woman, when in reality, it is the cry of someone who has carried too much for too long. Yet, within this chaos, there is also potential strength. The same behaviors that appear unstable may actually signal a woman reclaiming her power. Speaking up, setting boundaries, demanding respect. These can look like rebellion, but are actually signs of self-discovery. The volatility, then, is not merely destructive. It is also creative. A painful but necessary tearing away from outdated roles. Ultimately, the emotional storms and behavioral shift of women over 40 reveal a truth that society prefers to ignore. Human beings are not machines that can endlessly endure pressure without breaking. When women break, they do not become insane, they become visible. Their outbursts, risks, and contradictions are the evidence of lives stretched to the limit. To reduce these actions to craziness is not only unfair, but profoundly blind to the reality of what it means to be human under the weight of biology, time, and unrelenting expectation. Number 4. Positive perspective. Amid all the turbulence, it is tempting to reduce women over 40 to tragic figures, burnt out, unstable, and broken by biology and social neglect. But this view misses an equally powerful truth. Crisis often conceals transformation. What looks like madness can also be the painful labor of rebirth. And many women emerge from this stage, not weaker, but stronger, sharper, and more unapologetically themselves than ever before. The positive perspective begins with understanding that instability is not necessarily destruction. It is change in motion. When a woman rejects old roles or lashes out against suffocating expectations, she is not merely losing control. She is testing boundaries, shedding identities that no longer serve her, and searching for a version of herself that is more authentic. The volatility, then, is a signal of growth. Just as earthquakes reshape the earth, emotional storms can create new landscapes of selfhood. For many women, the decline of reproductive ability paradoxically unlocks new freedom. With fertility no longer defining their worth or limiting their choices, they can shift energy away from being caretakers of others and begin investing in themselves. Some embrace education or professional reinvention. Others turn to creative pursuits, travel, or spiritual exploration. The very fears of aging that once haunted them can evolve into a fierce determination to live fully in the time that remains. There is also the gift of perspective. By 40, most women have experienced enough disappointment, betrayal, and survival to know what truly matters. This clarity often makes them less willing to tolerate nonsense, whether from partners, employers, or social expectations. What may appear as stubbornness or defiance is often the emergence of self-respect. They stop apologizing for wanting space, for demanding respect, for saying no. This refusal to submit is precisely what younger women are rarely encouraged to do, and it becomes a form of liberation disguised as rebellion. Another positive dimension is the ability to mentor and inspire. Women who survive the chaos of midlife often transform their struggles into wisdom. They can guide younger generations through the traps of societal expectation, with honesty born from experience. This capacity to turn pain into insight is a power unique to those who have walked through fire and come out alive. Even the so-called irrational behaviors can be reframed. A sudden career shift may not be recklessness, but courage. A passionate affair may not be foolishness, but a cry for intimacy long denied. A refusal to keep sacrificing may not be selfishness, but self-preservation. Reinterpreted this way, what appears destructive is often the first step toward building a life with greater alignment and truth. Ultimately, the positive lens reveals that women over 40 are not descending into chaos, but climbing toward authenticity. The turmoil of this stage is evidence of growth, not collapse. They are not crazy, they are evolving, refusing to remain trapped in cages built by biology and culture. Society calls it instability. In reality, it is metamorphosis, and metamorphosis is never gentle. It always demands the breaking of an old form before something new and powerful can emerge. In the end, women over 40 are not crazy. They are human beings, standing at the crossroads of biology, psychology, and social expectation. Their anger, their sadness, their sudden desire for freedom are not signs of weakness, but proof of their struggle against forces that most people never acknowledge. What the world calls madness is often nothing more than transformation in disguise. If we choose to look deeper, we see not chaos, but resilience, not instability, but the courage to demand a life that feels real. This stage of life is not the end, it is a rebirth. Yes, it comes with storms, but storms are also how new landscapes are created. A woman in her 40s may break old roles, challenge unfair rules, and shock those around her. But in doing so, she is carving out her own truth. Instead of dismissing her as irrational, we should learn to respect the power hidden inside her struggle. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think society misunderstands women at this stage of life? Have you witnessed or experienced this transformation yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share this video with others, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep exploring the truths most people are too afraid to say out loud. Your support means everything, and together, we can build a space where honesty and courage are valued more than empty labels.